Today, President Trump warns Twitter, Facebook, and Google to stop the illegal discriminatory practices of censorship. And we talk about the real truth behind Barack Obama and how he came to power. Hi, I'm Craig, and welcome to Just Informed Talk. For those of you who don't know, every episode starts the exact same way. I say thank you to everybody who has hit that subscribe button because you guys make a big difference if you hit it. If you haven't hit it already, please come here on the landing page, click the big red subscribe button so you can get involved. Now, we're going to start right here. If you want to get caught up to where we're at, I encourage you all to go back here, watch this video. If you don't know what QAnon is, or you want to share this information with friends or family or loved ones, you want to get them kind of on the same page of what's going on so they can kind of see and do the research for themselves. And you can watch these last few videos if you want to get caught up with the latest Q posts. And definitely encourage all of you to go out and do your own research after you watch these videos here. Don't just take my word for it, because that's a part of what this is about. So here's the first post from Q. And we're going to go mildly quick through these because we have a lot to cover. So first is this post that Q posted earlier this morning around 10:30 Eastern time, and it's a Fox News article. And this Fox News article, what does it say? Well, the Fox News article actually talks about the GOP representative touches a firestorm with claim FBI leaked info, used stories to get FISA warrants. Well, there you go. It's what we just looked at last night, where Q was highlighting Mark Meadows' tweet, and we were to look at this, and now you have Fox News running with it the very next day. And the allegation being made is that Bruce Ohr worked with a foreign entity, basically, in order to get this illegal, and that's not the allegation. The allegation is moreover that Bruce Ohr helped get this fake Steele dossier, then helped to use it to spy on the president, basically in order to get a FISA court to agree to a warrant. So that's what this is going into, and we've covered this like ad nauseum on here. So if you want to do more research on that, go look it up. There's a crazy story, and Bruce Ohr is testifying today behind closed doors, so we're going to have to wait and see what the outcome of that is as well. Now, the next post here is from Q, something very interesting. It says, watch Iran. It says, something incredible is about to happen. Hassan Rouhani, in the metaphorical kill box here, which is brackets. It says, the good people of Iran have the power. Fight for your freedom. Q. So anybody in Iran, you know, if you're, I don't know how you'd be getting this through the censorship that they have there, but if you're watching this, you know, we're encouraging you basically to stand up for your own freedom and fight this religious dictatorship that you have over there. So in my opinion, what this is referencing is something that I found pretty quickly. Here's an article that came out this today talking about Iran's parliament gives president a rare summons and rebuke. And what this is talking about is basically Hassan Rouhani was called into the Iranian parliament to actually explain, you know, why their country is basically awful. It's just kind of funny. I mean, I'm sorry for those people, but it's funny that they would call him in there and they don't realize why. But in a good move, a good note, they basically he got up there and he gave a whole presentation about how it was because of U.S. sanctions and because of the evil U.S. Americans and how we're the ones basically, you know, in charge of their fate, and that by doing these sanctions, that's why their country, they have such high unemployment and they have, you know, a decaying infrastructure, all that stuff. It's all America's fault, right? Well, oddly enough, the people in the parliament rejected that explanation, which is interesting. They actually rejected the dictate of a standing president, which is not very often happening in Iran, especially given the way that they control with the Revolutionary Guard, how people act and how people, you know, conduct their daily lives. So this is a part of the plan, I think, and Q's pointing it out to us because, you know, this is an ongoing situation in Iran, but he's giving us or they're showing us things that are positive stories. Because like President Trump said, and we're going to talk about this a lot in this video, Google, they censor the search algorithm. I've said this dozens of times here on the channel. You can search something and it's terrifying. And I said this before. I said this, you guys who watch this channel know I've said this many times. But I basically said, how terrifying is it to think that they can go in, manipulate the algorithms, manipulate the search results, kick out everything that they don't like, and put in things that are favorable to their agenda. And they can control, they can literally, they've done studies that have shown, I think there was a study done, I think it was in India, that showed that they actually were able to sway millions of votes on election day, basically. So there you go. If you guys want to see something, you know, terrifying, that is something that you should look into further, and we're going to talk about it more in this. But now the next one is talking about the FISA and everything that happened there. So it's saying, FISA, and then the ABCs, which are the three-letter agencies, CIA, FBI, DOJ, or NSA, whatever. They're all in there. Versus INSCOM, which is the Security Command and Operating. I always get this one wrong. It's the United States Army Intelligence and Security Command, right? Is INSCOM. And what do they do? Well, they're in charge of basically military intelligence. That's what their main function would be, and they're probably heavily involved with what's going on here with Q and the military. So just take that with a grain of salt to start. Now it's saying that, so the old ABC is probably like the CIA, Brennan and Clapper and all that. They're the ones who are coming up against the military intelligence. And no foreign is a designation that's put on documents that says for no foreign eyes, basically. Meaning if you're not a U.S. citizen, you should not be able to view a document that has a no foreign classification at the top of it. And that to me is interesting, because that may be coming become more relevant as we go further into the future. But remember that no foreign basically means no foreign eyes. It's a classification you put on a document, be with like a classified or a top secret, whatever. It would say no foreign, so no foreign eyes, no foreign people and nationals, no foreign nationals should be able to actually view that document. So it says NSA INSCOM bridge. Well, that means that they were bridged together. And we're going to talk about what happened with Snowden, why it's all coming together now, and it's all starting to look like Snowden was actually a black hat, as if you stick around and watch the rest of this episode. But it says NSA INSCOM bridge, so that's the bridge they have between one another. Then it's, because you imagine the NSA collects all the data, INSCOM has to go in and take that data or use that data, presumably for operations. Then it's saying FISA equals FISC, which FISA is the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act and the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court. I guess they're one and the same, so Q's trying to say that these are basically interchangeable terms, because the act created the court, however you want to look at that, chicken or egg. But it says, who is accountable to Congress, civilian body, define state secrets, process of obtaining a FISA warrant, what must be demonstrated to be granted, what must sign off, or who must sign off, can select individuals in senior positions of power be shadow banned from active FISA warrants surveillance, national security, sufficient evidence shown to demonstrate rogue elements of intelligence apparatus illegally violated FISA law tenets in coordinated effort with Democrats plus foreign allies to impact, modify the outcome of the 2016 presidential election and safeguard against future uncovering and criminal prosecution. What must sign, or who must sign off on FISA warrants? Then it says, who directs the signers? Given magnitude of spy campaign, U.S. presidential election, Republican Party nominee candidate, plus president-elect, plus president of the United States, would Hussein be required to direct order? How would updates occur? Presidential daily briefing? Who has access to the presidential daily briefing? On-site classified briefings, situation room, Oval Office, presidential executive operation or emergency operation center, and and I'm not sure exactly what NC is, but I'll get back to you guys, or you guys will let me know down in the comments. My first thought was basically MBC, nuclear, biological, chemical, something to do with the operation center, like a bunker, but I'm not sure. It says, how often does a president use the Presidential Emergency Operations Center? And it gives this article here, which basically talks about how Obama had to move to a second Oval Office when they underwent these renovations to build basically a, presumably they said that there was an emergency bunker being built back in 2011, and that's what prompted President Obama to move his Oval Office to another section of the White House complex. So, and that's what this story basically talks about, is how the office had to be moved and so on and so forth. But going back here, Q says, could FISA warrants be issued active for numerous in the news now future U.S. targets? Foreign tangent required to obtain warrant to spy on U.S. origin. Define projection. What is known? Connections, them to Russia, other foreign assets. Who commands INSCOM? Who commands no such agency? Who has ultimate command? Q. So we're going to just cover what we didn't cover up here so far. We're just going to start basically by, a lot of this you can pull out for yourself, and I encourage you all to do your own research, obviously, and look into these things further. But it's asking us who's accountable to the Congress. The civilian body is basically the people who are in charge of this FISA court and the ones who are actually assigning the documents. This is what must be demonstrated to be granted. You have to demonstrate that the person is working with a foreign entity or foreign government, or that there's some reason that they're connected to a foreign power, because that's what the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court was made for. It wasn't made for them to just, hey, we want to spy on President Trump. So he talked to a Russian, put Russian salad dressing on his salad once, right? That's the what you have to do to get the process of obtaining a FISA warrant. It says who must sign off. Well, usually it's like the attorney general has to sign off on this, or whoever I guess would be in charge at that level at that time, and other top ranking officials in the counterintelligence units, maybe of the FBI, maybe like a Peter Strzok, maybe, and maybe like a Lisa Page, who's a lawyer who has to sign off on it legally. It says, can select individuals in senior positions of power be shadow banned from active FISA warrants and surveillance? So the way I read this is basically asking the question, can people basically in senior positions of power be disallowed from, knowing and knowing what was in active FISA warrants and surveillance based on national security reasons, right? And sorry, that just changed. Hold on. Yep. So that's what it's basically saying. Then it's saying there's sufficient evidence to demonstrate rogue elements of intelligence apparatus illegally violated FISA law tenets in coordinated effort. And this is all just basically recapping what we've already gone over, asking who must sign off on FISA warrants. Well, you have, like I said, the people I've talked about before, who directs the signers. Well, you'd presume that, the director of the FBI might have some say in things, and you would think that there, maybe if it's related to intelligence that was gathered through maybe the CIA, that maybe the director of that would have something to say, or the director of national intelligence, James Clapper, maybe some of those guys might have directed the signers. It may be. But it says, given the magnitude of the spy campaign, talking about the whole thing, would Hussein be required to direct order? Well, yeah, of course. That wouldn't be something that John Brennan just went off and, director of the CIA decided to do his own witch hunt and create this whole insurance policy and have these firewalls and create a fake dossier. And no. This had to come from the top. That's what Q is saying. It said, how would the updates occur? That would be in the presidential daily briefing, and who has access to that. Basically, if you're on site, it's the classified briefings, which are in the Situation Room, the Oval Office, and the Emergency Operations Center. So how often does the president use it? Well, it seems that what's being suggested is that President Obama used that center often to do nefarious things that he didn't want other people to know about. That could be the case. Now it's saying, could FISA warrants be issued active for numerous in the news now future U.S. targets? That's something that's very interesting that we'll have to wait and see. That would be crazy. But it could be very true that FISA warrants have been issued for and are active for numerous people who are in the news right now, and they're U.S. targets because of this fake story that Steele dossier and Russian connections. And, I watched, the movie Spies Like Us, and now I'm on a, watch list from the FBI, right? That's basically what it comes down to. And it's saying, define projection. They're projecting onto our base and our political leaders what they've themselves have been doing. And that's really what this all comes down to. What is known, there are connections with them, the Democrats and certain other, officials. It's not just Democrats, Republicans. There are a lot of people involved with this. But the connections to Russia and other foreign assets. And then ask these last three questions all have the same answer. Who commands INSCOM, the NSA, and the ultimate command? That would be President Trump. So that's where I think this information is likely coming from. That's why it's important to follow. Now, the next post here, Q is responding to his own post, and Q says, define treason. Well, it's funny you should ask to do that, because I want to define treason very quickly, because I think it's an important term to get clear. But we'll talk about that after we talk about this definition. And I'm not going to define treason. Actually, I'll define the penalty for treason. But it says, define treason. Fact, the offense of attempting by overt acts to overthrow the government of the state to which the offender owes allegiance, or to kill or personally injure the sovereign or the sovereign's family. The betrayal of a trust, treachery, define treason. Fiction, sample. Now, this is, Q gives us these are just blocks of, sometimes dozens of articles, or a dozen or more. And we've gotten dozens and dozens of articles from Q as we go along. And right here, we can go through these articles and just look at what they all say. They all say the same thing. Americans have forgotten what the word treason actually means and how it can be abused. And it just gives a lot of articles that talk about the same thing. You have a closer look at the claims of treason after Trump's meeting with Russian President Putin. So it's just craziness. And it's continuation of craziness. Does accusing Trump of treason go too far? Yeah, I think so, because he's not treasonous and he didn't do anything to be considered treason. But it says, did Trump commit treason? Bill Maher and John Brennan. Of course, you have this show where I'm not even going to do it. The raisin-faced turd muffin and his nonsense and laughable just life that he's trying to live right now. To me, it just points to more information about how he is a complete traitor to the country. And in my humble opinion, I don't know that for a fact, but you can go up to the top and we're going to talk about it in the latest Q post. We're going to talk about this exact what happened here basically in without actually talking about John Brennan or Bill Maher. And that's going to be something that's interesting. But then the articles, they just continue and continue and continue and go on and on and on. And, you know, just to me, it's just ridiculous. And this is where we've come to, and we're going to have to, you know, just keep working and moving forward. These are the fiction pieces that Q gives us to look at how they you know, they want to attack the president of the United States and they want to call him a treasonous traitor when there's no proof. And you ask them for proof and they just point you to an article that was written by the Washington Post, you know, and you're like, okay, well, there's nothing in there that actually is treasonous and there's no proof. But it says, define projection. What is the penalty for treason? And then it gives this whitehouse.gov document, which is a executive order that was signed on March 1st, 2018. This is one I've wanted you guys to look at. You know, I've been talking about this for a while. This executive order basically lays out the fact that there's going to be changing of the court-martial code, the manual for court-martials in the United States, and it all takes effect on January 1st, 2019. So what this basically means is people are going to start getting punished, and public figures may be able to be held accountable for their actions even after they've left office under a military court setting because they have committed, you named it, treason. There you go. So that to me is interesting. And then if you define the actual offense of treason, like what is the punishment? It says, whoever owing allegiance to the United States levies war against them or adheres to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort within the United States or elsewhere, is guilty of treason and shall suffer death, or shall be imprisoned not less than 5 years and fined under this title, but not less than $10,000, and shall be incapable of holding any office under the United States. So there you go. I mean, that literally is a you can be punished with death for treason. And this is what they're calling for against the president. They're saying he's treasonous, he's a traitor, he's treasonous. This is what you are calling for, just to be clear. And then they say, oh no, we're not calling for that. We're just saying, you know, like John Brennan's like, you know, it just means you distrust the guy. You know, he's treasonous. Like what world do you live in that the CIA, the former director of CIA, thinks it's okay to accuse the president of the United States of treason without any evidence? I mean, I don't even know what to say sometimes when I read these stories. Of course, the next one here is a post that Q gave us, which actually is this graphic about how the whole Xbox Live went down right after Q explained to us basically that they were using Xbox Live chat logs and PlayStation chat logs to communicate via the secret coded messages that they would, you know, get on to, I don't know, Call of Duty or something and play, and like they'd have a secret conversation in some secret chat room. That's basically what Q tells us about, along with the email drafts, the Gmail drafts, and the ham radios. I mean, these people are literally, I mean, I don't even know what to say. They're on ham radios, okay? This is about as bad as it gets. And then Q's here saying anyone having problems with their Xbox Live, kind of pointing that out. So that's what this graphic is telling us. And then Q gives us this Great Awakening on the Reddit forum, Great Awakening, talking about how QAnon now has been banned off of, oh, you guessed it, off of Xbox Live. You actually are seeing here a person who was basically posting or talking about QAnon and on Xbox Live, and they basically give him takedown notices. They took down all of his stuff, and they told him that he's basically saying hate speech, and they can't allow that. They can't allow the truth. They can't allow you to have an opinion. They have to control that, because if you have an opinion, you might actually disagree with them, and they can't risk that. So now this next block of articles all go to the same thing. They are circling the wagons. The media is in full force circling the wagons, saying defend Google at all costs. And that's what they're doing. They're writing story after story about President Trump's latest tweet, which we'll read in a second here, where Trump slams Google search as rigged. And it is, trust me. You can do your own research on that, but it is. And it says Google denies Donald Trump's claim of left wing, and the denial that the statement that Google actually put out in denial of President Trump is hilarious in and of itself, saying that they don't set to a political agenda, but they make them better. You know, they make it better to tell you what to think, to not give you the option of free thought, or to allow the freedom of information through the internet. They have to censor it with their algorithms, and they have to basically twist the narrative to shape to their opinion of what it should be. And of course, you have so many here. Trump accuses Google of suppressing positive news about his presidency, which is true. I've shown you. I've literally gone on Google here on the show, typed in a story that we're talking about, and it would be about President Trump, and you'll just have, it's like Wall Street Journal hit piece on Trump, the New York Times hit piece on Trump, the Washington Post hit piece on Trump, CNN hit piece on Trump, and they're like the top 10 search results, and there might be like one Fox News article down at the bottom somewhere, and even that one's like kind of wishy-washy, not really doing anything. But that's just what this is. And Q says here, Google to be regulated, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. These people are stupid. Censorship with no consequences. How do you set a trap? Open the door and we shall always walk through and take control. Q. Now, why is that important? That's important because look at what Q's saying. I mean, they are going to be regulated. This has to stop. They can influence elections. That is election meddling. That is interference. That is whatever you want to call it. Everything that they've been harping about Russia doing to our elections for the last 2 years is what Google does on a daily basis and can do on a scale that Russia could never dream of doing. But they wield that power, and with that power comes a great responsibility to basically to regulate themselves, and they have failed to do that. They have failed to self-regulate, and because that is the case, I am fully supporting whatever regulations come. Now, I am very cognizant of the fact that you don't want overreach. You don't want the government to interfere too much, but there has to come a point where if a company is not, allowing the free exchange of information, if they're suppressing ideas, if they're suppressing people's inputs, if they're rigging the algorithms to fix the search results, these things have to be controlled. You cannot allow a private company whose only real motivation, whether they tell you or not, their real motivation is profit, is making money. And like I showed you guys a documentary that's coming out here. It's called The Creepy Line, and you guys need to go check that out if you haven't yet, the trailer for it. But what they talk about is how they manipulate the search results, but they do it to influence you. And then not only that, they take all of your data and they sell it to private advertisers and to private companies so that they can use that data to market to you, to get you to do things. And to me, most people don't even realize that they go, oh, Google's free, it's great, I love it. But you're the product. Everything that you do and input into Google becomes monetizable for them, Google, and then they sell that against you. So that's what it is. So there you go. And how do you set a trap? Well, it would seem that things like the Q initiative and QAnon and what's been going on with all these different reporters. I mean, all the way up to Alex Jones, who is this behemoth of a figure in basically the internet. And he's been basically blacklisted as if this is some sort of 1984 Orwellian dystopia where you can just basically delete people from history and toss them into the memory hole and it never comes out again. So this to me is what is Really, really disturbing, but we're going to fight it and we're going to do it the right way. And we're going to be on top of this. I'm going to cover that as more information comes available. And there's a lot there. Now, this next one is a lot to unpack. Okay. So I'm going to unpack this to say, basically, there's a lot of questions here that need to get answered. And I'm going to stop. I'm not going to read this whole thing through. I'm just going to read it and kind of take a second for each one and talk about it. Like I usually do, I read them through and then I go back. But now I'm just going to read this. So it gives us this Reuters article. And what does this article say? It's talking about Iranian parliament and how they have censured Rouhani. And the article, again, like I talked about before, talks about how they rejected his explanation that it's all the United States' fault, why they have high unemployment, why their infrastructure is crumbling, and why they have no freedoms. And the article goes on also to talk about how Rouhani could be brought up on criminal charges if they go further with the process. So you have to excuse the screen jumping around. We're in the middle of a lot of drops from Q coming as we speak. So I'm just going to keep going, and we're just going to go all the way through into the latest post. But we're going to keep on this one. So now we talk about Iran. We talk about how Rouhani's been sanctioned. Basically, they rejected his explanation that the U.S. sanctions were the reason why everything's going down the tube. Now it says Hassan Rouhani, and he's in the metaphorical kill box again. Maybe he's being ousted. That's possible. It says, who paid Hussein to attend Harvard Law School? Who is Prince Al-Walid bin Talal? Now, this is a story that came out before where it talks about there's a connection between this fact that President Obama basically was given money to go to Harvard Law by Prince Al-Walid bin Talal. I've seen the report. It seems reasonably verifiable. I looked at it and it says, yes, it did. And that's what's being told to us here. And it's asking, why is Al-Walid bin Talal paying for the president to go to Harvard Law School, especially given what we can connect bin Talal to when it comes to the corruption in the Saudi royal family, the purge that happened with the royal family back around the time Q started in October of 2017, and everything that's happened subsequently from there. Now it says, was Hussein a prominent political figure or person of influence at the time? And it's no. And that's true. He was basically a nobody. He's just some dude from Hawaii and Kenya who decided to go to, he went to the University of Chicago, I want to say, and then he went to Harvard. But that to me is, and actually it's not, it wasn't University of Chicago, it was Occidental College, then Columbia, then Harvard. For where Hussein went to school, not that it really matters. But it's talking about how he was not a political figure at the time, and Valerie Jarrett was working with him. Where was she born? Well, guess what? She was born in Iran. And then it says, when did Valerie Jarrett hire Michelle Robinson? Now, who is Michelle Robinson? Well, that's Michelle Obama, the wife of President Obama. And this is a timeline that talks about 1991 when she was basically hired, was the same year which President Obama basically asked her, proposed to her, engaged, and they got engaged. And it was in 1991. And it's asking, who is mayor, former Richard Daley, who is mayor, current Rahm Emanuel? And this is talking about Chicago, in the city of Chicago. So it says, Hussein should be very nervous. Brennan should be very nervous. Kerry should be very nervous. Merkel should be very nervous, plus 29 others. So imagine this. What Hugh's basically saying is the mayor and the current mayor and former mayor of Chicago have information that they were probably being tracked, and their connections are going to be coming out soon about what they knew about Barack Obama, how they helped cover up whatever information that we're going to basically be seeing sooner than later, I believe, where it talks about Hussein, Brennan, Kerry, Merkel, and 29 others. Should be very nervous because if this big connection is put out there, it's going to basically just a lot of people's careers are going to be done for, and a lot of people may be facing criminal charges, because what it talks about next is the exact thing that I think we all basically have thought to ourselves. And I asked a bunch of questions. I'm just going to ask these questions as Q would ask them, and then I want you guys to think about what logical answers there could be to all these questions. So it says, how were the pallets of cash divided? How many planes were used to transport? Who operated the planes? What shadow agency directed operations? Why wasn't the money simply wire transferred? U.S. had authority to open bank-to-bank transfers. How do you prevent financial transfer logs? How were the cash withdrawals in the EU categorized, labeled? Where did the cash originate from? What time of day did the withdrawals occur? Who provided security? Why wasn't Congress notified? Why was the U.S. government kept in the dark? U.S. law broken? Did all planes land in the same location, airport? Why did one particular plane land outside of Iran? Why was a helicopter involved? Who did the money go to? How do you audit a foreign aid big block transfer? Did Rouhani keep unknown comms as insurance? What agency collects all forms of data? What agency did Snowden work for originally? Did he train on the farm? When did Snowden join no such agency? Define contractor. Define the PRISM program. What year did Snowden release spec details of PRISM? Mid 2013, impact limit NSA's ability to utilize, collect. Fake news push for congressional restrictions. Open source push to create counter defense. Purpose, blue skies for clown operation. When was the joint plan of action Iran deal executed? Late 2013. Do you believe in coincidences? Nothing to see here. Q. All right, I'll put all this together for you. It's pretty simple. What Q's basically saying. Well, we'll start with Snowden. Okay, so Snowden working at the NSA. So going all the way back to what happened in 2013 with Edward Snowden. The farm is where they train to become CIA agents. So what the question is, did Edward Snowden go train at the farm for the CIA to do an undercover infiltration of the NSA to sabotage their data collection program in order to clear the way for the clowns in lockstep with the Obama administration and his little cabinet, Valerie Jarrett and others, to illegally put together a deal with the Iranian government that would end up giving them kickbacks for allowing access of foreign EU companies into Iran following the implementation of the joint plan of action. Does that all make sense? I hope it does. What it's basically saying here is that it's asking the question, did the CIA train Edward Snowden to go into the NSA to take and steal the information that he did, to release it, to basically cripple the ability of the NSA to do its surveillance, thereby clearing the way for the CIA in conjunction with the Obama administration to make this illegal deal with basically the EU, Germany's Prime Minister Merkel and others, to sell the access to one of the largest burgeoning markets in the Middle East, which is Iran, the exclusive corporate access rights to the EU in exchange for this huge cash payment that could have gone anywhere, that we don't know where it went, but a lot of it did not go to Iran. So whose pockets did it line is the real question. Where are the slush funds that Q's alluded to before that belong to these people? That's the question. I mean, that's a legitimate question. I want you all to do your own research, but that's as plain, that's like black and white. That's laying it out. And I want to hear what you guys have to think down in the comments, because that's basically where I'm at with it. Now, the next one is this Twitter status, which the president, again, is warning. We never read the actual tweet from President Trump, which is here, where President Trump says, it says, Google search results for Trump news shows only the viewing reporting of fake news media. In other words, they have it rigged for me and others, so that almost all stories and news is bad. Fake CNN is prominent, Republican, conservative, and fair media is shut out. Illegal, and it says 96% of results on Trump news are from national left-wing media. Very dangerous. Google and others are suppressing voices of conservatives and hiding information in news that is good. They are controlling what we can and cannot see. This is a very serious situation, will be addressed. And I could not say thank you enough. But this next one, we're going to watch President Trump actually give comments about Google.
Yeah, I think Google is really taking advantage of a lot of people, and I think that's a very serious thing, and it's a very serious charge. I think what Google and what others are doing, if you look at what's going on at Twitter, if you look at what's going on in Facebook, they better be careful, because you can't do that to people. You can't do it. We have literally thousands and thousands of complaints coming in, And you just can't do that. So I think that Google and Twitter and Facebook, they're really treading on very, very troubled territory, and they have to be careful. It's not fair to large portions of the population. Okay? Thank you very much, everybody.
So there you have it. President Trump's basically saying, look, what they're doing is they need to be careful because it's illegal. Now, President Trump didn't say that flat out, but he asked the question in his tweet whether it was illegal. And I think it is definitely a form of suppression. It's definitely a form of censorship. I've experienced it myself. I know, that my reach on my videos and what I do here on this channel has the treatment. I get put in the special category of whatever, and it doesn't get promoted. And it used to be originally all my views came from suggested, and then all of a sudden that waned down really big time to like where a small portion of the people who see my content get it because it was suggested to them. And that's just a small way they tweak the algorithm. Then they do other things like with the demonetization and the flat out banning of individuals. And that to me is what we have to look at. And that's what is being brought to our attention here by Q, which I think is very important that we recognize this and we recognize that the president is recognizing it. And I thank him for his efforts in that regard. Now, the next one here is a Q post that Q put up on the 14th of August, talking about House of God. And he gave this Fox News article, which talked about what happened with these Pennsylvania priests who were basically alleged to have molested more than 1,000 children. And Q asks, House of God, only the beginning. Those who you are taught to trust the most expect many, many, many similar reports to surface from around the world. It goes a lot deeper, connected. The choice to know will be yours. Q. And this to me is very important because it goes back to the Pope. It goes back to all you've seen the criticism that the Pope is getting and receiving for basically the as I said, excuse me, Q posts are still dropping, so forgive the jumping around on the screen here. But that's what we were talking about. We were talking about, and like I was saying, what happens with the Pope, what's happening to him. He's being accused by members of the church here in the United States of basically knowing that this was all happening since like 2000. And instead of, removing these people, some of these people who were accused were given promotions, and it just is baffling. But it says U.S. Holy See relations. It says the Holy See is the universal group of the Catholic Church and operates from Vatican City State, a sovereign independent territory. The Pope is the ruler of both Vatican City State and the Holy See. The Holy See, as the supreme body of government of the Catholic Church, is a sovereign juridical entity under international law. And then it gives this state.gov link, and this document further explains how we have what they would say is a positive relationship. But what's the takeaway here is that it is its own country, it's its own province or region, and it's got its own sovereignty. Now, what Q asks us next is very important. Q says, wealth, power, sanctuary against criminal prosecution is a recipe for disaster. That's what Q's saying there. And that's what they have. They have money, they have incredible influence, and they have a sanctuary state where they can go to avoid prosecution. And that's what we're up against when it comes to exposing the corruption side of the Catholic Church. Because, as I said before, I have nothing against people who are Catholic. I never have. We're all Christians. I believe that we're all humble servants of God. But I do have a problem with the corrupt. And I've said this before about other things as well. So that's just something interesting. Now, the next one is an Anon who posed holy expletive. It just hit me in early drops. Q mentioned Godfather 3. Michael Corleone is fighting the corrupt elements of the Vatican in Godfather 3. And Q responds with this picture. We are Q. It's from President Trump's inauguration. It says, we the people, and then it says the people, Q. So that's what we are. We are the people. We are here. We're the ones bringing this up. Q's just showing it to us. We're the ones amplifying it. We're the ones yelling it, from the top of the mountain to get the word out of what's going on. Now, the next stuff is interesting. So then Anon asks an Iron Eagle, which is a phrase that Q used a lot in the previous time. And Q says double meanings exist, and it's Q, and it said this Iron Eagle swastika Nazi symbol. So I guess the double meaning there would be that Iron Eagle was a reference to what they were fighting against, I would say, presumably. Now, if you guys have a different take on this as well, please share it down in the comments. I'd love to read through it. I always catch great comments when I go down there. So now Q's responding to his own post, giving us this picture he's shown us a lot of times before, that compares the anti-fascist symbol from 1933, the paramilitary wing of the Communist Party of Germany, to today's anti-fascist symbol, and how they're almost the same, and with the same tactics, of course. But it says, stay local, U.S. Global equals reflection of local. Think mirror. Know your enemy. Every battle is won before it's ever fought. Knowledge is power. Q. So, Q's basically pointing us in the direction saying, that's what happened with the fascists in Germany. I mean, I don't know how anybody, even the people on the left, when you see them reporting, and they cover the story about like an Antifa march where they go and they just, they have baseball bats, they have masks, they're in full riot gear. And granted, there are people on both sides, who get involved with those scraps, but these people come looking like ISIS, in my opinion. And when they show up, they're not there to have a debate. They're not there to just air their political grievance vocally. They're there to intimidate. They're there to suppress. They're there to basically racket or run a racketeer of those who want to have freedoms, like marching down the street, representing your own political beliefs. But that's what we see, and it's literally a reflection of what's happening global. Is what's happening here in the U.S. And look, we have to be 2 steps ahead of them, because that's what they're trying to do to us, is to put us under their little thumb and try to keep us from basically speaking our minds, having freedom of speech. Now the next one, an Anon who puts this together. This is a Nazi pin tag with a communist symbol. And then you have here the Pope Francis receiving the hammer and sickle that's made into a cross, and also wearing his little medallion here. If you guys can see that, you can see it. And then guess who has the same little medallion right here? That would be the Vanderbilt mother of Anderson Cooper, who Q showed us in previous pictures had over her kid's bed what looked to be a satanic nativity scene. I don't know how to describe it. It was pretty evil, with a human being, sacrificed, I guess. That's what these people are into. And Q's pointing us to the fact that they may all very well be in cahoots, and this whole thing is not going to go away, because we talk about what is Nazism, but how did Nazism survive? Who were the progenitors of it then versus who are the progenitors of this anti-fascist fascist movement and other things. So we have to look at all this, and more research is definitely needed. I'll definitely rely on you guys. Do your own research and look at this stuff as it comes. So because of time, we're just going to keep going. The next one says, do not force those not ready or not yet ready. The fake news narrative, make-believe, has been ingrained for a long time. Do not isolate yourself within your own family. Dark to light, truth will shine. Impossible to defend, impossible to ignore. Stay strong. You are not alone. Patriots all. Q. And I'm glad that Q brought this up, because the reality is it needs to be mentioned that all of us out there, if you're out there and you're having this information, some people just can't accept it. Some people are so brainwashed, they're so inundated by the culture, and it's not usually their fault. They've usually just been unaware for so long, and they've been so programmed by the system, by the advertising, by the fake news, by the video games, by the music. It's all collectively broken their ability to have critical thought outside of a narrative that's been already drawn for them. And that's why we have to be patient, and we have to make sure that we know not only, we give them time to come around, if they hopefully will, and then also we have to make sure we don't isolate ourselves and become, lesser and become, dissociative or any of that. We have to remain, positive members of our community. We need to go out. We need to vote. We need to go out. We need to help our community however we can. We need to do things, give back, and that's really the way to fight this evil, is to make yourself better, to do good. Now the next one here is a post where it talks about Demetrius Pogorzelski was a Columbiner. He had the same button that Dylan Klebold wore on the shoe during the Columbine massacre. Lots of Columbiners wore this button. Well, look, these people, they're literally being trained to do this. And it says, breaking story here saying Santa Fe high schooler killer wore Antifa and Columbine hammer and sickle pin. And that's just saying that. And this is the Gateway Pundit article that goes over it. But Q responds saying, it's always been out in the open. You just have to look. You must stay together. Together you are strong. Symbolism equals end Q. And that's so true. You know, they use their little symbolism and you know, these people have been basically brainwashed, in my opinion. It's sad, and we have to pray that, you know, their souls are saved and that they can, you know, somehow recover from what has happened here. Because it's real and it's happening. And Q responds to the last post he just put up by saying, buy a history book published 20 years ago, buy a history book published 10 years ago, and buy a history book published this year. Compare, focus on World War I, World War II, and something alarming will be discovered. Q. So they're going to rewrite history, of course, because that's a part of the process. You know, if you don't like history, I guess just rewrite it. Just like if you don't like Confederate statues, you know, just tear them down. That's kind of like what they did in previous societies, and that all worked out so well for them. I'm saying that sarcastically, it didn't. But this is them rewriting history. I'm going to go do this research actually right now. I'm going to see if I can find an older history book and then compare it to a more modern one and see how they're telling our kids, or how they're explaining to our kids what happened in World War I and World War II, as I will find that quite fascinating, as I am a history buff, and I do think that it would be interesting to see if there's a different take on how history went down in the last 20 years. So that to me is something I'm going to get into, and I want to thank you all for watching the episode. I know it's been a long episode, but we're going to try to wrap it up quick. I want to say thank you for coming here and supporting the channel by hitting that subscribe button. That's the best way to do it. And once you do that, then you can scroll down and start sharing these videos, share this video, get it out there, spread it to your friends and family, get them ready for the information if they're ready to get it. And then also you can scroll down and comment, leave your thoughts, theories, and insights in the comment section, because like I said, I asked you guys to leave comments on certain things throughout the video. If you have anything that you picked up that I didn't pick up, please comment and leave it. It's a great conversation, a lot of great people. We don't just talk about Q posts, we talk about culture, politics, religion, everything in between. So you guys get involved with that conversation and talk with one another, and we'll keep spreading this information organically as we have to here on this platform. Now, another way you can help out the channel is to come over here and find me on Twitter at Justin_formed. Of course, when you come to Justin Formed Talk Twitter's page, or Justin Formed Talk's Twitter page, you can give me a follow. That helps out big time. Tweet at me, all that good stuff. But then also just go ahead and just check out the information and share it if you can. That makes a big difference. Another thing you can come check out, which I really appreciate your support on, is my new website. Now, of course, this is the beta version. I'm working out all the bugs, and back and forth, we're trying to figure everything out. But it's going to have updated content from me on a daily basis, and if you want to get more Just Informed Talk, or you want to get special written articles that I'll be posting over here, definitely come check out this website. It's justinformednews.com. Again, it's pretty easy, just justinformednews.com. Put that in your browser and you'll come right here to this landing page. And let me know what you think about the website, and leave me comments in the website if you can see anything that needs to be fixed. Because like I said, this is the beta version, so we're just running it right now to get all the kinks out, and I really appreciate you guys coming and checking that out. Now, before we do go, another way you can help out, which is a huge help, is to contribute financially. And if you can, I really appreciate it. I'm thankful. This is a monthly donation you can make over here on Patreon, patreon.com/justinformedtalk, or just search Just Informed Talk. When you come to this page, click that button and become a patron. It's a monthly donation. I can't tell you how much it means, and it helps out so much. And if you're not interested in a monthly donation, you just want to make a one-time anonymous donation, please come over here and you can find me on GoFundMe.com/just-informed. Again, GoFundMe.com/just-informed, and you can make a one-time anonymous donation. That helps too, so I'm thankful to every one of you who come and help out. That being said, before we go, I want to talk about the greatest gift of all, and that is the gift that God has given us. And what gift has God given us? Well, He's given us this day. He's given us this breath in our lungs, this beautiful sunlight to hit our face, and these great creations of His, and fellowship and community, and our families and our loved ones, and all of those things. So we need to focus on that. And in focusing on that, what's very important to remember is that we must keep a thankful heart. And that to me is one of the most important things that you can imagine when it comes to these kind of issues that we talk about here on this channel. So in doing that, I want to read Psalm 138 to you guys. And I hope it uplifts your heart like it does for me when I read it. It says, I will give you thanks with all my heart. I will sing your praise before the heavenly beings. I will bow down toward your holy temple and give thanks to your name for your constant love and faithfulness. You have exalted your name and your promise above everything else. On the day I called, you answered me. You increased strength within me. All the kings on earth will give you thanks, Lord, when they hear what you have promised. They will sing of the Lord's ways, for the Lord's glory is great. Though the Lord is exalted, he takes note of the humble, but he knows the haughty from afar. If I walk in the thick of danger, you will preserve my life from the anger of my enemies. You will extend your hand. Your right hand will save me. The Lord will fulfill his purpose for me. The Lord, your love is eternal. Do not abandon the work of your hands. And that's a call to God to say, I trust in God. I'm thankful that I know God will protect me. I'm thankful that I know no matter where I go, my enemies cannot reach me as long as I have God with me in my heart. And that God's right hand will come down and protect us because God's love is eternal and he will not abandon his work, which we are. We are the work of God. And being God's creation means that we have to be humble servants to the Lord and express our praise every day and repent and go to, church or whatever community you can get involved with where you can share in fellowship and share in the teachings and share in being a good Christian. Putting that out into the world and doing what you can to make that a reality in your own life is what's most important. So I want you all to take that away. If you don't take anything else away, that God absolutely loves you, and that all you have to do to get that message out there is to spread your faith like wildfire and let everyone know how much God means to you, and let God know, especially every day, how much God and his Son and the Holy Spirit and their sacrifice and the sacrifice of Jesus on the cross, how much that means to you for your eternal salvation, which is more important than anything that we have on earth. So that, I'm going to say thank you for everyone. That's how I'm going to end it. Thank you all for watching. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, now's a great time to do it. Come here, click the big red subscribe button. I know there's going to be more Q posts coming, so a new video will probably be up later tonight covering whatever Q posts we don't get to this video. And again, stay tuned for that. So thank you all for watching Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.